Okay, so SMART goals simply means each letter in the word SMART is part of the acronym. So S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, and T for time bound. And this would apply to just any goals that you want to set. So specific meaning how can you very clearly define that goal? Okay, you want to be very detailed enough so that you clearly understand what it is that you're working toward. Okay. So for example, if my goal was I wanted to drink more water. Well, what does that mean specifically? How much water, right? What does drinking more water mean? Does that mean like I take 2 sips more of water? Does that mean I drink a gallon more of water? You want to be very specific enough so that you understand what it means. And that kind of ties into measurable. So how will you track your progress? So if my goal is to drink more water, how am I going to know when I've done that? Am I just going to guess at the end of the day? Am I going to take measuring cups and measure out my water? Am I going to, obviously I don't want to guess at the end of the day because that wouldn't be very measurable, right? But if I want it to be measurable, I could take my containers of water for the day, set them out, fill however many containers of water I intend to drink. Then I will know, okay, I drank this much water. And then achievable, what resources do you have or what resources would you need to get to achieve this goal? So you want this goal to be something that, is achievable to you. So I would not make a goal that I am going to climb Mount Everest because that's probably not achievable to me at this time. There's a lot of obstacles in the way. For one thing, I'd have to get there. For another thing, I'd have to learn how to climb a mountain. Now, if I really wanted to climb Mount Everest, then I'd have to figure out what resources I would need to do that. And I would have to set a long-term plan over time. Probably wouldn't get there this year, but maybe over a course of time, I could figure out how to take, mountain climbing courses and learn how to climb a mountain. I would probably have to do some kind of physical training to be in the right physical shape to climb a mountain. I'd have to do some travel planning, right? I'd have to do some financial planning to save up the money to make the trip. But those are resources that I don't have, but that I could acquire. So you want to think about the resources that you already have, right, with you. But you can also think about, well, what resources can I get? And there are lots of ways to acquire resources. In fact, we're going to do a whole day about resources later. And so we'll talk more about acquiring resources and figuring out which ones you already have. And as far as achievable, the other important thing is you want it to be something that you can accomplish in the time limit that you set for yourself, but also that is a bit challenging for you to do. The best space to grow is just outside your comfort zone. So you don't want something to be so easy that you're going to just do it and it's done. But you also don't want it to be so difficult that it's never going to happen. So you want it to be just outside that comfort zone so that you have a little space to challenge yourself and grow, because that's where we grow, is right outside our comfort zone. So if you imagine our comfort zone is like a nice comfy circle, I want to be just outside that circle. So if my goal was to drink more water, then I'm not going to set a goal of, oh, I'm going to drink 2 more sips of water per day. That's way too easy, right? But maybe my goal is going to be, I am going to drink 16 ounces more water per day or 32 ounces more water per day, because that's a little bit outside my comfort zone. That's a little different than what I'm doing now, but it's not way, way outside my comfort zone. I'm probably not going to immediately drink a gallon more water every day. So relevant, in what way are these goals meaningful to you? They have to be meaningful to you. So if you're doing this goal because someone else said you should, you have to be the one that this goal has some meaning for, or you're not going to do it. That's just how we humans work, right? It has to have some meaning for us. So, and how will you know that this goal is relevant to you? Well, it better be aligned with one of your values, which we are going to talk about more about values, what those are, how to figure out what your values are, and why those are important. Because a lot of people don't really, they maybe kind of know what their values are, but haven't really taken the time to sit down and figure out, okay, these are my core values. These are the beliefs and things that have the most meaning to me, that are important to me. And we're going to talk more about values in just a second. So your goal has to be relevant and meaningful to you in your life. And maybe it's going to help you achieve something else. Like maybe I'm going to drink more water because my value is health, and drinking more water is going to help me achieve health. So if you're doing a goal because someone else suggested it for you, then you need to find a way that it's meaningful to you. If it's not meaningful to you, then you probably need to set a different goal or adjust that goal to one that is meaningful to you, because it's when the goals are meaningful to us that we have the passion and we work towards them, because we know it's going to bring us where we want to be, and because it's in alignment with your values. And when you're in alignment with your values and you're working towards your values, it feels wonderful. It is a sense of passion and wholeness that you just don't get when you're doing something that is not aligned with your true values. And that's why it's so important to understand and really line up with what your values are. Set goals that are for those values. Time bound. What's the start date and what's the end date? So I wouldn't say, well, I'm going to drink more water sometime. I mean, okay, well, when? Tomorrow? Next week? I mean, when am I going to drink 16 ounces more water? You know, by the end of the year? By the end of the day? You have to know, like, when are you going to start and when are you going to finish this goal? And of course, probably initially, this is going to be an estimate, but that's where you want to, again, go back to achievable, right? So what's an achievable time period for really finishing this goal? Your values, when your goals are aligned with your values and they're relevant, you're going to be motivated to find the resources that you need. And you will start to see those resources everywhere. And again, we'll talk more about resources in another day. And so when you achieve the goal, it's really important to take a moment to celebrate that and to recognize what you've accomplished. Don't just move on to the next thing and blow it off and say, well, that was nothing. Because no, if you really said it and it was specific, measurable, and just a little bit outside your comfort zone, and it was relevant to your values, then you really did achieve something. And it's important to recognize. So values, what are values? Well, basically, your values are the beliefs that are most important to you, the things that you identify with at the very core of your being. And everything that you do should be in alignment with these values. Anything that you do for work, anything that you do for hobbies, your relationships, everything in your life, to the extent that it's within your control, should be aligned with your values. And this is not an exhaustive list of values. There are tons of values, but these are just some examples of values. So it's important to figure out which values are most important to you. And there is a whole exercise that you can do to elicit your values, figure out what your values are, and even rank your values. And we'll talk more about that later. But just so you can see some examples here. So for me, as you can see, health is on the list. Health is a really important value to me. It's really important to me to improve my health and be working constantly towards a state of better health. I feel very passionate about that. Now, if I only cared about my health because my doctor said, well, you need to be healthier, you need to walk more, I probably wouldn't walk more because that's somebody else telling me what I need to do. I need to feel that myself, and I need to embrace, yes, health is important to me. So I need to walk more because I care about health, and that's for me, not for my doctor. Now, my doctor is happy about that, but that's just a side bonus. So health is important to me. Honesty is important to me. Integrity is important to me. Joy is important to me. Justice. There's a lot of great values on here. So then the question is, well, which ones are the most important to me? And that's a question that we'll talk about later. But anyway, these are just some examples of values so that you could start thinking about maybe what your values are.